pray for us and we'll get started. We'll go to the time of worship. Father, we thank you so much for tonight. We thank you that when we come here tonight is not from a place of having all the answers. It's not from a place of knowing that we have everything that we need in the sense of like we don't have anything else to learn. But I pray, Father, that even as we come here tonight, that you would open up our hearts, that you would speak to us here tonight. The calling that you have for us to live as people who are forerunners. May that be something that is not just head knowledge. May that be something that is a calling and it's from you, that we cannot fabricate, that we cannot kind of muster up on our own will. But I pray, Father, that there would be a sense of calling tonight, that you'd be speaking to us in our particular situations, in our particular context, and would you move us into action as well? That it wouldn't just be something where we accumulate knowledge and yet we remain in the same place. But I pray, Father, that even going out tonight, we would all be able to walk out of this room a little bit different, with a different vision, with a different perspective of what you called us to do. That it would infuse everything that we do with a meaning, significance, and weight. So we thank you that this is only possible when your Holy Spirit marks us, and when you speak to us through your word, and your word becomes alive and is active in our lives. So we pray, God, that all these things would happen here in this place tonight as we consecrate this night, that we would hear from you, and that our spirit would encounter your spirit, and that there would be a transformation there. We thank you, Father. We love you. We pray all these things in Jesus' name.
I just wanna be near you. Thank you.
close out, I actually want us to take a moment to pray. And I don't know if you're used to praying this kind of prayer, but I actually would like us to engage in spiritual warfare just for the next minute or so. Even as I'm getting ready and feeling ready to teach, I feel like there's just resistance, and I can't put a finger on it. I don't know what it is. But when I feel that resistance, I don't want to be the only one pushing through. I want this entire room to begin to shift the atmosphere, to make this a place that is anointed not just in the material that is given, but in the way that it's received. So let's engage this spiritual warfare just for about a minute or so. I encourage you to lift up your voice and not remain quiet. It's not quiet spiritual warfare, but I want us to vocally engage in spiritual warfare. Just set aside this time, set aside this space for the Holy Spirit to move without any hindrance. That if there's any distractions, if there's anything that the enemy has assigned for tonight, that all these things will become null and void as we engage in God's word. So let's take a moment to pray, and I'll just close this in prayer. Father, that even as we engage here tonight, I thank you, God, that there are no distractions, God. There's no resistance, God, that there's clarity, Lord God, of mind, that there is a softness of heart, Lord God. We set aside, Lord God, we set aside this time, Lord God. Every time, Lord God, you get space, Lord God, where your word goes out with power, Lord God, there will not be resistance, there will not be any wall, everything, but I thank you, God, that you are now big authority, Lord God, authority all this time, Lord God, we allow the enemy to have authority. I thank you, God, that each and every day we go down with this conversation. I pray that we be setting, that we'll be setting this word out tonight. I thank you, God, that this is like the ability to do this for our children. You've given us authority over these things. You've given us authority over these things, Lord God. You called these things to be, Lord God. Available to your Holy Spirit. And we set apart this place for your word to go out in power. May this be a room filled with good soil. That everything that is given, everything that is imparted, Lord God, would be well received, well nurtured, and well walked out. We thank you, God, that what you've given us here, Lord God, is a picture, Lord God, of what you called us to be. People, Lord God, that are breaking ground. People that are not content, just simply going with the flow, just simply staying where we are. But I thank you, God, that that forerunner spirit, Lord God, is present even now. We thank you, God, for all these things. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. 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 Yeah, I don't know if you guys felt it or not, if it was just me, but I'll assume that it was not just me. But I felt like even just now, as we were doing worship, I felt like there was a pushing through that we needed to kind of engage in. And I feel like it's something to do with the forerunner spirit. You know, the forerunner spirit is all about going against, swimming against the current, right? So sometimes there are times when we kind of like bask in an anointing that is already there, you know, already present. And sometimes we just coast. We just like sit back and we coast in that atmosphere. And there's a place for that for sure, but I felt like tonight, at least in my spirit, God was like encouraging me to like, no, the whole forerunner spirit, the whole idea is like, you're pressing in to like uncharted territory. You're pressing in, you're breaking open ground. And I felt like even as we were worshiping, like there was a holy dissatisfaction in me. Not that it wasn't good, not that we weren't all engaging, but I felt like there was more that we needed to press in for. And I think that has something to do with what we'll be speaking about tonight. So just know that it's real, you know? And it's like very present, even right now. If I could ask for a favor, could, like maybe 2 last tables, could you guys move forward? Like maybe find it's just that since we don't have a mic, I begin to scream because I feel like I'm not reaching the back. And yeah, I think that's good. Up until there, I think it's good. Yeah. Up until yeah. Awesome. Once again, welcome to Kiwan Cafe. We've had so many Kiwan Cafes. I didn't really realize that until this past week, like how many we've had already. We started last September. It's been on a monthly basis since September, and the only time we ever took a break was in December because that was like right around Christmas and all that. So we've been going steadily forward through K1 Cafe. I'm always really intrigued by the kind of people that draw us. Depending on the theme, it's like some people will show up for like the bridal paradigm and the end times church, you know? And then people show up for that, I'm like, wow, like I don't know. I couldn't make it any more obscure and like, you know. But yeah, so the lifestyle of a forerunner, I'm always very curious what draws people out. If it is that you feel like you're a forerunner and you want to be better equipped in what you've already been called to do, or if you're like on the fence regarding like, am I called to be a forerunner? Are we all called to be foreigners? And like, you know, this thing where you're kind of like feeling things out, or you feel like you have been forerunning and you've kind of already been doing it even without having the full understanding of the mechanics or even the theology behind it. But you feel like you've been doing it. You've been coming up against resistance. You've been breaking open ground in whatever area it is that God has called you to, and you feel like tonight it's like going to speak into the situation that you are in already. Whatever the case, I'm like just very, very curious what kind of people something like this brings. I love this this slide that Jisoo made. It's like it's ice breaking kind of, you know, it's breaking ground for the next ships to come. And I love that imagery, I think, for us. So let's just begin with what forerunner means. So there's many, many different connotations, especially in the Christian circles, but just bare bones what it means. It is that which precedes and gives notice of the coming of another. Another way to say it is herald, harbinger, messenger, and precursor. So these are all different ways to say the same thing. Now in certain contexts, we use forerunner more as a synonym to something like pioneer. Like you're doing something new, you're a forerunner in whatever area it is that you're in. But what I wanted to draw attention to, especially here tonight, is not just that if you're called to be a forerunner, you're called to do something that is new. So novelty is not the main focus of what a forerunner does. Novelty is a byproduct, but novelty is not the main thrust of what a forerunner does. The important focus for us is what is coming after the forerunner, and that defines what the forerunner is. So another way to say it is, the definition of a forerunner is largely predicated on the question, who or what are they forerunner for? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you're the forerunner of a worship movement, so how you forerun and what that looks like, it is in large part depending on what the movement is that you're forerunning for, and what the people are going to look like after you as well. Who or what are they forerunner for? Are they a forerunner for? I think that would be better English. Who or what are they a forerunner for? So even today, before we start talking about examples in the Bible and all these different things regarding forerunners, I want us to look through a timeline first. If you're part of K1 and you're part of this past K1 retreat, this is going to look very familiar to you, but I wanted to give us context so that we're not just talking about forerunner in a very abstract kind of way. So if we were to think about, if this is like a timeline, right? And this is in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So this is the beginning of time. There was eternity past somewhere. And then this is eternity future somewhere. If we were to think about history, human history, like in terms of a timeline, if we were to say this is the beginning of creation, then somewhere along the lines in the middle, this is where all these different prophets and all these different promises were given, all pointing towards something. And then here in, that's an ugly cross, I'm sorry. Right, dividing BC and AD is this monumental kind of crossroads in all of history, and that was the coming of Jesus Christ into the world. Like, I want you to understand just how, crazy it is that God himself, who knew no time, who was all the way out there, in eternity past and eternity future, he decided to enter into human history. And he did so. And so this is the first coming of Jesus Christ. Now, there was a certain dude that shows up right here. And his name was John the Baptist. Yes, John the Baptist. So when we're talking about forerunner ministry, we cannot talk about it without talking about John the Baptist. He was the forerunner to Jesus. He was breaking open, he was preparing the way for somebody who was coming. And so you have to look at John the Baptist together with what was coming then. Right? Now if we were to continue down, and imagine we're somewhere along the lines here. Imagine. I don't know what, it's not to scale obviously. But imagine we're right at the brink of Jesus' second coming. So this is Jesus' second coming, this time not through suffering servant, but this time in glory, he's coming as a reigning king. And so this movement that would happen right here is also going to be a forerunner movement. And it's largely, what he was doing was preparing a way for that, largely what this is doing is preparing a way for this. Now I want you to understand why it's so important for you to understand what part of the timeline you're in. In Jesus' time, it wasn't just John the Baptist who was aware that Jesus was coming. There are a lot of people that were aware that God had made promises all along that he was going to come. Now the problem with people right here, who were basically the keepers of God's word, the keepers of God's promises, otherwise known as Pharisees and Sadducees, people that were I don't know what that is, but thank you for checking it out. So the problem with people right here is the kind of person that they were expecting, the kind of God that they were expecting, they were looking forward to this, right? That's why when this came upon them, they had no grid for it. They were like, there's no way that this guy who's dying on the cross right now is fulfilling all the promises that we've read about. He's supposed to be a coming king, he's supposed to be establishing a new government, he's supposed to be a military figure. And so when they were looking at this Jesus, it was understandable that they rejected Jesus because what they were looking forward to was this. So in this season, they were expecting this. Now for us as forerunners, if we are in this point, and the kind of Jesus that we're expecting is a suffering servant, the Jesus who comes as a meek lamb, this kind of Jesus who doesn't ruffle feathers, that doesn't engage in violence or anything like that, then we're going to be just as misled, and we're going to miss it just as much as these guys did this. Because we're going to be here looking backwards towards this and being, well, this guy doesn't look anything like this. This guy doesn't match up with our expectations. So this is a really, really crucial timeline for us to understand. If we are looking at the same word, but we are unaware of where we are and what point in history we are in and what it is that we're forerunning for, and we don't really understand, we don't really know how to recognize this when it comes. Does that make sense? This is super important. And this is a big gaping hole in Christianity, modern Christianity today. This is why when you talk about judgment, or when you talk about even like the God who, like in the last like chapters, it's like, have you guys read the book of Revelation like lately? It's not like, oh, it just comes floating down in the cloud and then things kind of pan out. There's a lot of bloodshed here. Like it's like a very uncomfortable book. And it's because it's not going to look like anything that we expect. It's not going to look anything like His first coming. And so for us to like be able to grab a hold of everything that God is and what kind of promises He's going to be fulfilling in His second coming, that is so crucial for the church right now. And that is something that is under-preached, that is under-emphasized. A lot of times this is, I don't think there's a way to over-preach this really, but this is definitely under-preached. This. A God who's coming back with vengeance. A God who, in Isaiah 63, He comes back and He doesn't show up just like pristine. He shows up in garments that are stained with red. And then they ask Him, like, what is all the red on your clothes? It's like the blood that of the people that I trampled in the grape, what is it? The grape
wine press.
Wine press, yes. So, like, the kind of Jesus that we're expecting is not the meek lamb. It's not going to be like a little manger hidden somewhere. It's going to be a reigning king who's coming for dominion. Like, He's coming for nothing less. And so when we are talking about forerunning ministry, what we're forerunner to is huge. It's so important because it's going to change everything about our message and even the spirit in which we do it. So this is, John the Baptist was a forerunner in his time, and I believe, and many people believe, although people have different timelines and different grades of conviction regarding this, like we are really approaching forerunner ministry right now, like the second coming of Jesus. And so when we're looking at this, we have to think we're forerunning not just for this, right? If you're to read on in the book of Revelation, this arrow actually just goes on and on and on and on and on, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about, this is the coming, not just of a king, but of a kingdom that's going to continue to go on. New heavens and new earth. There's going to be government. There's going to be, this king is not just a figurehead. It's not just an abstract kind of person. It's going to be actually somebody who's going to be ruling and reigning over the nations. And so we're not going to get too deep into this part when we're talking what we're talking about tonight, but we need to keep this in mind. Sometimes we're like, okay, we're forwarding, all we need to look to is like we're just responsible for just about this much. Maybe this. That's all we get to do. But we don't need to worry about anything else. But really, the spirit in which we do this and the message that we're carrying, it all depends on what's coming forward. So we cannot afford to like ignore this part either. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just leave it there. Forerunning also, tradition says that forerunning was actually what a person actually did. So it wasn't like an abstract kind of title, like, oh, watchmen. Like, watchmen were actually watchmen, right? There were people who watched the walls, who were standing up on a physical wall. So it's not like it's not a Christian buzzword, a charismatic Christian buzzword. Same thing with forerunner as well. So when a king was about to come into a city, now we're used to like pavement and like, potholes here and there, but it's like somewhat well maintained. But back then, these are dirt roads. Like anything from rain to like mudslides, so anything could have happened back then. And so there's a person who literally went before the king. So the king was coming, there was somebody who actually literally prepared the way for the coming king. Literally. So they would be looking for like, are there stones to get out of the way? Is there any way that we can make this straight? Is there any way to make the passage for the coming king smooth for them to be able to enter into a city? And so that's what a literal forerunner did. They actually prepared the way, the path, the road for the king to come into a city. And at the same time, as they were approaching a city, they're heralding. So they're saying, king is coming. So it's not like they're just quietly and busily preparing the road and cementing the road or something like that for the king, but they were loud about it as well. They had a message to bring into the city, and that was that there was a king that was coming to visit. They didn't have text messaging. They didn't have we're going to schedule you for this and this day to come. No, if the king was coming, somebody needed to go out in front of him to prepare the road and also prepare the city for the king that was coming in. So that's where literally it comes from. That is what a forerunner is. And so when we're thinking about a forerunner generation or a forerunner anointing or a forerunner in spirit, we're talking about somebody who is literally preparing the way, opening up an avenue for the king that is to come, to invade wherever it is that we are. And at the same time, we are heralds. We are not staying quiet about this, but we are opening up our mouths and we're telling people about this coming king. So it's not like an internal spiritual reality, it starts there, but it is supposed to be outwardly manifested. And that's why I thought today when we're talking about, it's not just the spirit of a forerunner, but what does that actually look like? Your life should look different. If you're carrying that forerunner spirit, your life should look different. It should be preaching to people around you that there's somebody else who's coming. It's another kingdom that's about to break in. And so that's what the lifestyle of a forerunner is about. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yes? So we're trying to stray away from just an abstract buzzword like, ooh, I want to be forerunner, I want to be a, apostle, or I want to be a prophet, or, all these words that we tend to just throw around. We want to very soberly know that it's not just like a spiritual reality, but it's also going to be, if we're doing things right, it's going to be walked out in our lives, and our lives should look like we are opening up a path for somebody who's coming. Now, if we are to look into Old Testament, different prophecies that were made regarding this one that was coming, and these prophecies are going to come right around here, right? BC. And these are some, there's way too many, so I'm just going to go over a couple. This is one of the clearest ones. In Isaiah 40, verses 3, then 5, and 9 through 10, it says, "A voice cries, 'In the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God.'" So already you have this mental image, right? There's like a desert, and there's like no way for a king to smoothly come in, and so they're actually opening up a highway in the desert for the coming of God. "And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. Get you up," so get up, "get you up to high mountain, O Zion, herald of good news. Lift up your voice with strength, O Jerusalem, herald of good news. Lift it up, fear not. Say to the cities of Judah, behold your God. Behold, the Lord God comes with might, and his arm rules for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his recompense before him." So this king is kind of like storming into a city. You can almost picture storming into a city. He has, reward that is with him, and his recompense that is before him. The way that I think this is opened up to a little bit more interpretation, but the way that I see it is his reward is with him. So the saints that he has won through the blood that was shed on the cross, the saints are with him, storming into the city, and his recompense to the nations, the inheritance that he has in the nations are before him. So he's going towards something, but with someone. Doesn't that give you such an amazing picture? Like a very literal picture of a king storming in surrounded by saints, surrounded by his bride, and he is after an inheritance in the nations. And this also gives you a really, really nice picture of, it's almost like when he's talking about Zion and Jerusalem, it's almost like a literal picture of a city on a hill that no longer can stay hidden under a bowl. Like now it's time for you to shine and begin to open up your mouth and talk of the good news of the king that is coming. Lift up your voice. Don't keep it to yourself. Now's the time to broadcast this to all the nations. So this is a really, really beautiful picture. And this was one of the prophecies that Prophet Isaiah released even before the coming of Jesus. Now this is from the book of Malachi. And this is God saying, "Behold, I send my messenger, and he will prepare the way before me. And the Lord whom you seek will suddenly come to his temple, and the messenger of the covenant in whom you delight. Behold, he is coming, says the Lord of hosts." The reason why I highlighted "I send my messenger" is because it's really, really important to know that the messenger is sent by God. This is God's initiative. It's not just somebody like volunteered for it and hey, can I sign up for it? Can I do this? God himself is the one who sends someone ahead of him. He's the one who initiates it, and this messenger is of the Lord. So the message that he carries is of the Lord. He's not sending his own little version of the message. He's not just, kind of like winging it. He's not there to preach his own message, but God himself sends his messenger with his message before he comes. And one literal way in which this was also fulfilled was, he sent John the Baptist first, but then the Lord whom you seek, so people were really waiting for an actual person, an actual Messiah. Do you remember the story of Anna? We talked about Anna. And so she was, for example, she would be somebody who would be praying and waiting for the coming of Jesus. And then she was the first one, who recognized Jesus when he was brought into the temple. Right? And so it's like a literal, if she knew Malachi, she was like, oh my goodness, this is actually happening. I am the one who's witnessing this. The Lord whom you seek will suddenly come to his temple, in the messenger of the covenant. So it's like, finally here, like literal, in bones and like meat and bones. In the flesh. In the flesh, you know what I mean?
Yes,
so it's almost like something that was verbally said and talked about for generations. It's like in human form. You can touch him. You can see that it has actually come into the temple. So this is just like two different ways in which God, in his mercy, foreran his coming as well. So he didn't just stay quiet about it, but he sent his messenger. And even before John the Baptist, he had already all throughout BC, basically, he talked about there's someone who's coming, there's help that's coming, there's a prophet that's coming, there's redemption that's coming. He keeps saying that over and over again. I really encourage you, for you, when you read through the prophets in the Old Testament, think about that lens. Like, what are they preaching? And even in the bleak kind of picture that they often paint, doesn't it set a contrast? Doesn't that set a backdrop for there's an underlying we need a savior. We cannot save ourselves. We've tried everything. We have failed over and over again. We need something of a different order. We need something from God himself. It's like, when is the savior coming? When is the promised one coming? There's this thread constantly all throughout the Old Testament of this upward seeking, when is he coming? This is why when Jesus comes in the scene, people are like, this is very underwhelming. This is not what we expected. It's like generations have accumulated, when is he coming to, take back the city and take on the nations and destroy our enemies? And then Jesus comes in, as a carpenter and, chilling with sinners, and you're like, there's no way that this guy, So this is how I've developed a little bit of almost compassion for the Pharisees. If I was in that time, I would definitely be one of them. I'd be like, oh heck no, this is not what we've been praying for and waiting for generations. So if people actually knew the scripture, they were actually more likely probably to be like, this guy, this Jesus, he doesn't even fulfill half of this stuff. Anyway, all that to say, that's a thread ongoing through BC. Now, fulfillment in John the Baptist, the different prophecies that were said about this one that will be coming in to prepare the way of the Lord. There's many different passages as well, but we're just going to go into just one of them. This is from Matthew 11, I believe. And it says, this is a scene with Jesus, right? And as John's disciples were leaving Jesus, Jesus began to speak to the crowd about John. And this is what he said about him. What did you go out into the wilderness to see? A reed swayed by the wind? If not, what did you go out to see? A man dressed in fine clothes? No, those who wear fine clothes are in king's palaces. Then what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet, this is the one about whom it is written, and this is Malachi. Word for word, I will send my messenger ahead of you who will prepare your way before you. See, Jesus, in his time, he's quoting Old Testament scripture, saying that John the Baptist, this guy that you guys are talking about right now, he is a literal fulfillment of that prophecy that was spoken of 400 years ago in Malachi. So word for word talks from the scripture. And what he's saying, this is in the context of, they're talking about John, they're talking about Jesus, and Jesus is not just calling him a prophet, but he's also calling the people out. He's saying, like, you've heard John the Baptist talking this entire time. So what was the point in all that? What was the point in receiving all his messages and listening to podcasts and buying all the CDs and what was the point in all that? If you were not believing anything that he said, like, you didn't go out to just see somebody who was well dressed. He wasn't well dressed.
Right.
You didn't go out there to be entertained because he wasn't entertaining. You went out there to see a prophet, not believe what he actually said, and not believe what he actually embodied. He was the fulfillment of Malachi. This passage for me is very convicting. Because there's going to be a day, I feel like, when a lot of the church is going to be very unpleasantly surprised by the events that come up ahead. Once if all the book of Revelation is going to be fulfilled, there's going to be a lot of very unpleasant surprises along the way, right? A lot of the church is going to be like, what in the world? And then Jesus is going to be like, we've talked about this all along. Like, what were all the sermons about? What's this thing about? I gave you this for so many years and still, I feel like for me this is like a really, really, well-delivered, loving rebuke. Not just for me, but also for the church of today, right? And he goes on to say, truly I tell you, among those born of women, there has not risen anyone greater than John the Baptist. Yet whoever is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. So he's talking about himself. For the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven has been subjected to violence, and violent people have been raiding it. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. And if you're willing to accept it, he is the Elijah who was to come. Whoever has ears, let them hear. So he's opening up, basically saying, like, this is the prophecy. This is what you have been talking about all along. Whoever has ears, let them hear. And he goes on to indict this generation, the people who are listening, sitting there listening to him. And this is what he says. To what can I compare this generation? They're like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling out to others. We played the pipe for you, and you did not dance. We sang a dirge, and you did not mourn. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they said, he has a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, he's a glutton and a drunkard and a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom is proved right by her deeds. And then Jesus began to denounce the towns in which most of his miracles had been performed because they did not repent. So what is this talking about? You're like, what in the world is he talking about when he's talking about dirge and marketplaces and all that? Basically it's saying, like, what you guys are wanting and calling out for God, you're saying, like, God looks like this, and then you get this, and then you say, no. This is something else. We actually imagine him this way. So you say, like, we want to be a joyful one, or we want him to be a really, fasting and sackcloth and ashes kind of guy. And all these things are happening, and yet you do not believe it. Whether he comes in the form of, a prophet who prepares a way for him out in the wilderness, eating locusts and honey, dressed in, what is it? Burlap, basically. So you do not believe him because you say, he's demonized. And then when Jesus comes and he's actually hanging out with the sinners, he's like, he's like a pagan. So he's like, what do you want? What do you want? We're giving you everything, and still you're not willing to receive, and still you're not willing to repent. So this is like indicting not just them, but also us. Like, really, do we believe in the God of the Bible, or are we the same way that we heard even this past week? Are we creating an image of the God that we think he is, that is not biblical, like either a God really just of love and no judgment, or just of judgment and no love, a God who forgives sins without any repayment, or a God who holds you guilty of every sin that you made without actual forgiveness. So there's different ways in which we can paint God in a way that is not biblical and is not complete. And so I feel like just this passage in itself is like, man, like, will I have ears to hear? Jesus was standing right in front of them, like, the Word become flesh, sitting right in front of them. And they still couldn't see it. What makes me feel like I am beyond that? You know what I mean? I'm like, well, they were, they're obviously blind, but am I blind? Am I deaf? Maybe in other ways that I am deaf too, I'm blind too, right? We cannot just, basically what I'm saying is that we cannot just point the finger and be like, it was so obvious. It was right in front of you. How could you miss it? When maybe there's a God who's right in front of us and we're completely missing it as well. Now, it's not just, all these prophecies and all these different things are not just talking about, the ways in which BC was prophesied and the way in which John the Baptist fulfilled them, but it's also, there's prophecies that are yet to be fulfilled, and a lot of these things are fulfillment in a generation to come. So my theory is that this generation in which a lot of these things will come to pass. For Matthew 24, verses 9 through 14, it says, "Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death, and you'll be hated by all nations for my name's sake." Stop for a second. They're talking about the end times generation, right? How many of you guys want to sign up for that? Or how many of you guys live with that kind of mindset? Am I ready to be delivered up to tribulation and put to death and hated by all nations? Like, no, I can barely handle it if my family's upset with me. I can't have nations hating me for God's sake, for God's name's sake. And then we continue on, it says, "And then many will fall away and betray one another." So it's not just that they're persecuted, even within themselves, many of them will actually fall away and betray one another and hate one another, as if things weren't bad enough. There's attacks from the outside, and then there's animosity within as well. "And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray." So even within that conflict, within the body of Christ, there's going to be false prophets who arise and then take out another chunk of people from the church, and they're going to lead many astray. How many of us would be able to identify a false prophet? I feel like sometimes we think if they come preaching, like the Moonies or something like that, I feel like I can pretty easily pinpoint them. But I feel like if it's saying that even people who have withstood persecution, so these are not lukewarm Christians we're talking about here. These are hardcore, die-hard Christians, right? So even those who have withstood tribulation, and even those who have not been destroyed, even then by the infighting, they are able to be led astray. Again, what makes me think that I'm immune from this? If I don't eat this and digest this and know this for myself, I might be one of those who are swept away. Many of us in our generation, we're very fortunate to have people who are very strongly in the Word that we can look to. If we're ever in doubt, we're like, what does Piper say about this? We're we go by Piper. The Piper meter or a Tim Keller meter, right? Is this heresy or not? What does Tim Keller think about this, right? There's certain barometers that we use, but what happens when all those people pass away?
Yeah.
Who will we look to? By then, we need to know the Word for ourselves. Otherwise, we're going to be very easily led astray. Okay, continuing on. All this good news continues on, right? "And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold." So not only are all these terrible things happening, but you begin to lose your love for God in the midst of all this because of lawlessness. I feel like, although it doesn't explicitly say it, what I'm thinking of is if you are able to have, Christianity, and then you strip away the love aspect of it, the love of many will grow cold, and you strip away the love aspect of it, I feel like what it will look like is religion, right? And so even then, even after all that has happened, you're still in the danger of falling into simple religion, dutiful, obedience, and yet, you don't have love with God, you don't have an intimate relationship with God. This is why, my life message, I feel until I die, is intimacy first, intimacy first. You cannot think you can go through persecutions. You cannot think that you can go through even just normal life tragedy that happens to believers and non-believers alike. You cannot believe that just good discipline is going to get you through that.
Right.
And you're going to reach the finish line because you had good discipline. or because you had QT every morning at the same time. I feel like it's going to take a lot more than that. And I feel like the only thing really that can carry you through whatever testing, whatever trials come your way, whatever persecution comes your way is love, really. And so this is like a really bleak picture, right? Even then, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And the gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. Let's look at one more passage. This is in Matthew 25. The kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lampstands and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them are foolish and 5 were wise. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and slept. And this is what I highlighted. But at midnight, there was a cry. Here is a bridegroom, come out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. The reason why I highlighted that is, who do you think is awake at midnight when everybody else is asleep and heralds, broadcast, shouts out the coming of the bridegroom? That's a picture of a forerunner right there. It's not Jesus himself being like, hey guys, I'm coming, like God and the bridegroom, I'm coming, right? No, somebody else is awake, is on the lookout, is alert, and as soon as they see a sign of the coming bridegroom, they cry out and awaken the virgins and says, here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him. It sounds very much like behold your God, right? That we were looking at Isaiah 40. It sounds very much like that. This is the picture of what a forerunner does. You're heralding the coming of somebody that you are, waiting for. You're kind of jolting them out of slumber to go out and to meet him as he comes in. And that is the picture of a forerunner. Now, we already talked about this a little bit from Matthew 24, but there are some very unique battles to fight as a forerunner. If indeed we are forerunning for the second coming of Jesus, there are going to be very unique battles that we are going to face as foreigners that are different from any other generation. Or maybe they're the same but at a much larger, more intense scale. So I'm just going to take the time for us to go through a few of them. And this is obviously not going to be a comprehensive list, but these are things, for me, it's like, if I know how to fight something, if I know I'm even more prone to a certain kind of attack because of my position as a forerunner, it's very useful for me to know what they are, right? Yeah. So like, you know what you're fighting and you know how to fight it. So one of the things, and we're just going to list them, okay? One of the things I would say, very important for us to tackle as a forerunning generation is fear of man. This sounds really generic, but as a forerunning generation, man, if we don't have the guts to stand up to people and preach what is unpopular, and nobody will want to hear. This is going to be in the context of lawlessness. It's in the context of like people going on their own way and the world becoming darker. In the midst of that, we're supposed to be, the church is going to become brighter, right? But in the midst of that, man, if we are crippled by this, if we have not dealt with this as forerunners, I don't know how you can be forerunning ministry without dealing with this. And I feel like this is probably why, even our generation, we are very much attacked in this way by Satan. We're very, I'm not going to overgeneralize, obviously, but I feel like as Christians sometimes, even more so than non-Christians, we become very like, don't offend me. Don't say mean things about me. You know what I mean? Like, all it takes is like a little word and you're like, I can't do it. People are persecuting me. All they did is like, say something mean, like, why are you reading your Bible or something? Oh, persecution. You know what I mean? Like, there's this like very intensified fear of man. And I feel like we're always kind of looking over our shoulder, like, will they think like, what will they think of me? Like, am I getting approval? Am I like a relevant Christian? Or, you know what I mean? Like, am am I still like relatable? And I think those are all very good questions to have, but what I'm talking about is fear of men. Like, you have to deal with this as forerunners. All the prophets were unpopular. They were not like voted prom king, you know what I mean? Like, these were all people that were like over and over rejected by people, they were killed by people, and even when they were being called by God, God would tell them like, I'm going to send you to a people who are not going to listen to what you say. Yeah, he already gave them a warning, right? I'm going to send you to people who are going to hate everything that comes out of your mouth. They're going to hate you. They're going to ostracize you. You're going to be super unpopular. Okay? And it's like, okay. Right? So it's like, you have to deal with the fear of men, especially in the end times. You cannot think that we can dodge this issue. Like, I feel like every small battle that we fight in the arena of fear of men is a small victory. And it's like creating for us this momentum and this kind of culture in us to really kind of like confront this in a very intentional way. So fear of men, it can look like anything like in your daily life, but I feel like it's even more intensified. And I feel like this is the reason why right now, the most terrible thing to be called right now, especially in the Western world right now, is like intolerant. Right? You are intolerant. You know, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be intolerant. You know what I mean? If you say something that's politically incorrect, which the gospel really is very politically incorrect, and you get called out on that, it's like the worst thing that somebody could say to you. Why can't you be tolerant? Why can't you? You know, this becomes like an insult, right? Being intolerant. And I feel like that's one of the things that reinforces this. Christians are very quickly becoming paralyzed and like they can't speak up, they can't say anything anymore because of fear of man, because they're afraid they're going to be called intolerant. And this is going to only continue to escalate. Even within Christians right now, it's like very unpopular to say God hates divorce. That will get you in a lot of trouble, especially in certain kinds of Christian circles. Or like, God is against homosexuality. That will put that up on your newsfeed status today to see what kind of response you get, you know? This is like this, right? There's going to be a time where we're going to have to speak up. There's going to be a time where we're going to have to, like, okay, the truth is the truth, and we have to say it even if it's politically incorrect. It's going to become more and more politically incorrect. Woo! Okay. More good news. Desire for comfort. Oh man. And now comfort, it can look like very different things, you know? It has a very different application to everybody's life, but it can look anything like, you know, like I want to be surrounded by really strong Christians. Even that could be like, if this is not what God has called you to do, then there can be like out of a desire for comfort. Like this aversion to risk, this aversion to pain, right? It's like so prevalent in our generation. It's like what we want is like safety. What we want is a stable job, a stable family with what 2.5 kids. What is it? I don't know what it is now. And a dog. 2.5 kids and a dog. And you want to be doing well with your in-laws. You want things to go smoothly with your boss, and like all of this, the whole like American dream kind of mindset. It's not that it's bad, but if it's wrongly put in first place, it's definitely unbiblical.
Right.
Yeah. Right? Even the American dream, even something like progress, getting better at what you do every day, that could be the American dream, just like clothed in Christian needs, right? Christian needs. Anyway, we don't need to go very much deeper into desire for comfort. I think it's pretty straightforward. Discerning God's voice. This is a really big one. I know all of them are big, but this is really big. So get this, okay. It's not just that you need to know the Word of God, but you need to know the Word of God in the right season as well.
Sure.
Many of the false prophets were actually, the actual words that were coming out of their mouth, the scripture. It was just in the wrong time. It's like scripture of comfort when God was telling them that no, disaster is coming. You need to warn people. And they didn't want to be unpopular. They didn't want to consult the voice of God. And so they went ahead. They thought they were speaking on behalf of God. And it sounded Christian enough. It sounded scriptural enough. So you can actually be a false prophet even if you're speaking scripture. Does that make sense? If it's in the wrong time, if that's not what God is saying in that moment for you to say, you are a false prophet. This is why discerning God's voice is so important. You can know scripture inside and out, but if the Holy Spirit is not speaking to you through it, and you're just copy-pasting whatever sounds good at that moment, and you are thinking that you're speaking on behalf of God, you could be a false prophet. You could be given false hope. And God is saying, beware. This is a warning. There's something that's right around the corner. You need to be prepared for this. And instead you're saying, right, the Bible says, I'm forgetting what part. It says like, they're saying peace, peace, when there is no peace. And God is saying like, this is time to gear up for war. And the prophets, the false prophets are saying like, oh no, things are really good. Do you know that a lot of the prophets, like people like Jeremiah, people like Isaiah, all these guys, God gave them a very unpopular message to preach during a time of prosperity. It was during the reign of Josiah. You know King Josiah, right? King Josiah was the one who did all these crazy reforms, and it's like in a time of revival. It's like in the middle of revival, these prophets rise up, and God is giving them a message of like, this is going to be very short-lived, and there's a disaster right around the corner. You better warn your people. And so they are in the midst of people getting saved and, like the word of God being lifted up again. In the middle of that, they're giving such an unpopular, against the current, counter-cultural message for that moment. But it was the Lord that was speaking at that hour. So it is a matter of discerning God's voice. In the midst of all that, there were many other prophets who are like, what are you talking about, Isaiah? What's talking about, Jeremiah? Things have never been better before. We have never had this kind of revival. We've never had these millions come to Christ. And that's what it's going to look like. It's going to look like everything is going so well. What are you talking about? Disaster is coming. And that's all going to hang on whether we're able to discern God's voice or not. I feel like this is also the reason why there's so many different opinions and different voices that clutter our ability to listen to the voice of God so much as well, including social media, including like everybody and their mom has an opinion about everything now, right? And they're not afraid to share, right? And so like this is all clouding things out, and it's becoming like their word against their word, and in the end there's like not no room for you to even know where the truth is, what God's truth is, instead of everybody else's opinion. I feel like that's also just a symptom of like an attack against this. Our inability to even retain our attention for long enough to hear God speak, I feel like it's an attack against this as well. I feel like all these different things are ways in which this is getting attacked because this is so important in our generation. Like this is going to be a life or death kind of issue for us. Like we need to know that we can discern God's voice when the time comes. And so I feel like that's one of the reasons why it's so attacked as well. More good news? Maybe one more? Okay. Need for recognition or credit. Now, how this played out in the New Testament, if you're to remember what John the Baptist's story was like, he actually had a thriving ministry. He was preaching a very unpopular message, but yet, and he was like dressed weird, eating weird stuff. It's not like, I want to be that guy. He wasn't that guy, right? But he was preaching out in the wilderness, and people still went out to meet him because they needed to get an important message to say. So he had a thriving ministry, even with all those different obstacles. People were drawn to him. They knew that he had a weighty message for the moment. He had a thriving ministry of disciples around him, just like Jesus did. And then Jesus shows up on the scene. Now, if I were in John's shoes, what would I have done? Would I feel okay with my ministry dwindling like my disciples slowly like making their way over to the other guy across the street, you know, and I don't want to get baptized by you anymore. I think I want to get baptized by that guy now, you know. I think I've heard everything you have to say. I think now I'm going to move on to this other guy. How would I deal with that? I don't know, man. I would definitely not be like, I must decrease, he must increase. No. That would not be me. I'd be like, okay, we got to revamp our website, we got to get this thing rolling, where people go. You know what I mean? But I feel like that must have been one of the greatest tests, like for him. Like when the time comes, do you know when it's time for you to take the back seat now? Jesus shows up on the scene. My time is done. It's the time for him now. His ministry needs to thrive. And he was okay with being abandoned, put in prison, beheaded, all these things happening as Jesus' ministry begins to pick up. I don't know. I don't know if I could do that. I really don't know if I could do that. But that was,
It was his cousin.
Yeah, his cousin.
The same family.
Yeah, I don't even know my cousins that much. But man, I don't know. But there's this innate thing in us, even for the kingdom of God. Like we need this. It's like if I'm gonna be like a Christian witness in my marketplace, like I need to know that people look at me in a certain way. I need to know that I'm getting the credit. I need to know that people recognize me as top of my field. There's like this something so good, like, hey, be excellent at what you do and be a good witness. Something like that can become very quickly distorted in our mind when it becomes this need. Like when it becomes like you can no longer give first place to Jesus and know when it's time for you to step down as well. Man, this is really hard. I don't know how our generation would deal with something like this. And it's like, even if you were to, you know, like really prophetic people, there are people who are like growing in prophetic, it's like, when you feel like you got something right, you feel the need to be like, I said it, I called it, I heard from like yesterday it happened to me, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I need that credit, like the prophetic credit, like I get a brownie, a cookie, something, a prophetic cookie. But even like within prophetic people, there's even this need. Like how many prophetic people would be like, God spoke to me about this last year, and now it's actually happening, and I warned people, but they still didn't do anything. I'm going to keep that to myself. You know, like how many people do that? You're like, I told you! How many times? You know, like this is an email. You see this email? Like we almost need, like we really, really need this. I feel like that's going to be like a temptation for every prophetic person.
Sure.
Yeah. Because God, in His kindness, in His mercy, and in His friendship, He'll show you things. He'll talk to you about different things. And for you to use that to build up the body, or to speak life to the body, or preparation for the body, instead of like, I told you so, I was right, you were wrong, you know? For us to use that in the right way that God intended, instead of to want credit or recognition. Man, that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Man, maybe last one, one more. Let's do one more.
How many do you have?
I have many, but I think this is a good one since I'm here. The religious spirit. The religious spirit. This is, we already saw that, right? In Matthew 24, was it? 24, 25? 24? The religious spirit. This ability to do Christian things without God actually being in the middle of it. And to do it without the love, the intimacy, the closeness with God. I feel like you could even have like a mega church and still be operating out of a religious spirit. You could have a thriving movement where you are like hot stuff on social media and still be doing it out of a religious spirit. The Lord is not there with you. Like, we're going to see a lot of, I feel like we're going to see a lot of ministries that even look like we idolize them, even right now. We idolize them. We feel like, man, if anybody knows what they're doing, if anybody should be doing a conference or writing a book, that I would like read and purchase and all that, like it's done. I feel like there's going to be a lot of those kind of ministries that we're going to see, like once, you know, the veil is taken off and we see what's actually underlying a lot of different things. It's going to be a lot of religious spirit. And I feel like as well, we can never think that we are above this either.
Right.
It is way too easy, way too easy to fall into this. Like I fall into this like every 3 days, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh no, grace alone, grace alone, grace alone. This is not this is not my merit, this is not my doing. And then 3 days later, you're like, this is about me, it's about me. Like I did this, I built this with my own hands. How dare you try to take it away? You know, like it's so easy to fall into that. And I feel like this is going to become more and more of a way that the enemy really attacks a church. A church that is loveless. It might look Christian and great on the outside, but inside it's like that whitewashed tomb that Jesus was talking about. Like it looks great on the outside, really respectable on the outside. Inside, no life. Just no movement, no life. I feel like these are just some of the things, some of the battles that we need to be very aware of for this generation. We cannot be like, oh, let's just hope for the best, you know? We got the gospel, we got good intentions, I pray once in a while, we're going to do great. No, I feel like these are really important things for us to keep in mind. Like, almost know that we, in the atmosphere and the environment and the time that we are swimming in right now, like, we are predisposed to all these things. First of all, by sin nature, but I think it's even exacerbated in our generation right now. And so, for us to willy-nilly try to, you know, like, swing this Christian thing, I feel like there's better ways around that. There's more smarter ways to go about that, and I feel like these are just 5 of, I feel like dozens of very particular things that we need to confront very deliberately in our own lives first, and then to our generation as well. I hope all of these kind of hit home a little bit for everybody, and that we know that in our generation, these are going to be like so crucial for what we are up against and for what's up ahead. Yeah? We're not going to just stay in bad news, okay? Let's get to good news. This is something that I very recently learned, because I'm a little bit more crisis-oriented, so I'm like, I need to kind of like see my enemy, and it gives me like power to fight and all that. And so I need to be a little bit more on the negative end of things for me to actually have more drive. But something very recently, I was taught in this conference that Michelle and I recently went to, and it was that we cannot just see what we're up against. We actually have to see it as an opportunity for faith. So let me give you an example. Imagine we are trying to live a Forerunner lifestyle here in Korea. Here in Korea, modern day, 2017, Korea, in the middle of Seoul. There are many things that are going to be working against us. How do you live a Forerunner lifestyle in the middle of all this craziness? Or there's certain things that you begin to discern. Like, oh, I feel like there's a obsession with image, for example, or this and that. And you begin to pick apart the culture, and you can list out like 20 different things, like everything that's wrong with Korea. And you see it as like a minus, like all these things are working against me being able to live a Forerunner lifestyle. But if we were to flip it on its head, and if we were to call that, we have a unique opportunity to bear witness that we belong to a very different kingdom, but it's almost like exacerbated because of the contrast, the backdrop. Does that make sense? So if we were to look at the culture around us, we have been given a very, very unique opportunity to bear witness to something very different, of a different spirit. So for example, different cultural distinctives of Korean culture, things like the definition of success, for example. If in Korean culture, you were to think, this is what success looks like. You're married by 25. You have, a well-paying job in a big corporation. You live in Seoul or like really close to Seoul. You visit your in-laws maybe like once a week. You have like this list of things, what success looks like. In the middle of that, if someone was to live in a very different spirit, like, I will not allow money to dictate my decisions, my life decisions.
Right.
Imagine somebody in the middle of that kind of context was to stand up and make that kind of example of like, my life is not dictated by finances. I am going to make choices that are actually more in line with what I believe in, what I stand for, my principles, where I feel like the Lord is leading me to. I feel like in the midst of a certain definition of success, of cultural success, in the midst of that, the power that somebody who's living a Forerunner lifestyle, the power that has to preach of something very different is like so immense because of the backdrop. Not despite it, but because of it. So we have a lot of different people, for example, in our community, who like their parents are like, I don't understand why you would throw away your this education and this degree and all this to be in Korea, to be doing this, or to not be married yet, or to, you can call it whatever. But the kind of witness the power of your witness is so different because of how countercultural that is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let me give you another example. Use of money. How you decide to use your money. Within Korean culture, you would think like, okay, save up for retirement, invest in real estate, help your parents out, let's go education for your kids, which is super expensive here. X, Y, Z. You have like a list of things that you would want to spend money in. Now, for somebody from kingdom culture to be able to say, I actually want to be generous with my finances. I'm going to be giving to this ministry. I'm going to be giving to this project. I'm going to be rearranging, making financial decisions that will not make sense to people in this world because I'm not living by the spirit of this world. I'm living by a different spirit. The power that somebody, of their witness, that somebody can do something like that in a very different spirit is all the more, it's almost like more potent because of the backdrop against it, because of how rare it is to see somebody like that. Because of, it's like, there's like 1,000 people that are doing something different. Why are you different? And something sets you apart because of that, because of how countercultural that is. Does that make sense? So you're being a foreigner within a certain context, and that's a gift. It's not a hindrance. It's not something that's going to cripple you. It's not something that you are like, like swimming against and pushing against, like having to break down and all that. But it's like, it's a blessing because it brings even more power to your witness.
Yeah.
The life that you lead has even more power to preach of a different kingdom. So it's an advantage in that sense for the kingdom. It's in the same way like a Christian witness here has a certain weight. Christian witness in a persecuted place, it's the same witness, but it's a lot more weight.
Yeah.
Right? Because of the backdrop.
Right.
You know exactly what they're risking, what they're giving up. You know exactly what they're saying yes to and no to. And it's like, it's the same witness, and yet it has such a different weight because of the backdrop. In the same way, here in Korean culture, even here today, in whatever workplace you're at, in whatever family situation you're at, in whatever financial situation you're at, there's a certain amount of weight that you can leverage for the benefit of the kingdom, for the benefit of your witness, because of the things that are working against you. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah,
Yes?
that does.
All right. So here, we're going to do an activity. We're going to have a little bit more discussion. So I kind of touched just the surface regarding Korean culture. But I want us to have a little bit more discussion of what it would look like for us to live a Forerunner lifestyle against the backdrop of the millennial generation. So this is, again, not something that we're working against, but it's an advantage. We have been given a very unique opportunity to live a life that will set itself apart from the millennial generation. Does it make sense? So if we're to look at the millennial generation, such a long word. Generation, okay. The millennial generation. What would you say are some characteristics of the millennial generation?
Self-centeredness.
Okay. Heart-centeredness. Okay? Social
Easy
media.
satisfaction.
Social media. What else?
Easy satisfaction.
Ah,
Like
Instant
fast-paced.
satisfaction.
Instant gratification.
Gratification. So. More.
Seeking pleasure.
Uh-huh.
Hedonistic.
Destructive.
Hmm?
Destructive.
Distracted. Ooh. Yeah.
Wanting to experience lots of new and different things.
Mm-hmm. So novelty, right?
Connected.
Connected. What else?
Access to information.
Mmm.
Also, probably the most diverse generation.
In what way?
In the way that, like, even among America, like, this time in the world, there's more, like, cross nationalities. And also, we're more aware of other cultures
So diverse.
in both blood and culture.
Blood and culture. Sounds like.
Harry Potter.
I was gonna say like a rap album or something.
I guess it's
Other words?
Susie's.
like diversity and
rap.
awareness. I think that's the same meaning to awareness. Diversity and awareness.
Okay, there's
Awareness.
city awareness.
Diverse awareness.
I think,
Oh. Diversity in awareness or?
yeah.
In awareness? I
I
don't know.
think it's-
Awareness
I
of
think-
diversity?
I think it's more like-
Diverse awareness.
Diverse awareness.
I kind of, what comes to mind is how, like, we're overly accepting of just whatever,
Postmodern.
Yes.
like postmodernism, I guess. But like, we're just overly accepting of whatever opinions and thoughts and beliefs that you have.
All of the opinions are equal.
All
They
opinions
count.
are equal.
Also, slacktivism.
Yeah.
Selectivism.
Sensitivity.
Sensitivity to what?
Slash easily offended.
Like almost looking for the
Yeah. Huh?
not just easily offended, but like
Looking for
looking to be offended.
Looking.
Seeking to be offended.
Ah, that's a very interesting observation.
Like attention.
Looking
For offense. Oh.
for offense.
It's not only for themselves, but they look for it for others.
For others.
too.
Right.
It's like,
Offended.
it's like overly,
Yes.
it's like taking political correctness to like, trying to be the political correct police. Like,
All monitors.
PC police.
PC.
I think also the poverty mindset. Like most countries went through recessions during our generation's upbringing.
So they're disillusioned.
Mm. One more? These are all.
Educated.
Thank you. Something productive.
I know, I was like,
I tried to give a lot of productive ones.
no, I like that we end there.
So against this backdrop, some of them are good, some of them are not that good. Yes, and this is obviously, an overgeneralization, right,
Yeah.
of the millennial generation. It's a big spectrum within this. But as you're looking through all these points, what kind of opportunity do you see for Christian witness? It's not just like doing the exact opposite, right? It's not just like, you're doing this and you're doing the opposite.
Right.
There's things that are definitely redemptive. Some of them, what is that?
Pleasure.
Jesus?
Cousin of Jesus.
Actually, his name is John.
It's the other cousin.
Other cousins.
Yeah, pleasure hedonism.
I think with a lot of that, since there is so much, it's very independent, but it's also reliant on others. And so there's a lot of identity issues. So living as someone who has a firm identity,
Right.
knowing who they are,
Yeah.
is very countercultural.
Yeah.
But they're also kind of drawn to it because it's scary to be so
Right.
tossed around. So so to live in a way that's kingdom, where you know your identity,
Yeah.
is in contrast.
Yeah, for sure. You still have like 40-year-olds trying to find themselves, you know, like in our generation, and never really reaching a place of like security or like, I know who I am and I cannot be shaken.
The best is I know who I am today,
Uh-huh.
and tomorrow,
Who knows, right?
yeah, and yesterday wasn't so great.
Yeah, so the power of being able to be secure in your identity, and how countercultural that is really.
It offends them on
Yeah,
the surface, but there's also that, do that.
right. It comes, it's something that, you know, you cannot even, like, it's not a learned thing. It's not like something you do, but it's belonging, you know, and knowing who you are before God. It gives you like a stability as well, where no matter what things are shaking around you, you are not shaken. For sure. That is really, really countercultural.
And I think along those lines, it's like promoting others actually. You know, because I think, you know, like if you are truly secure in yourself, you have no problems actually elevating others.
Right.
And like I think that's something that doesn't happen often.
Right.
We're always promoting ourselves and trying to show how great we are. But we don't see a lot of people saying like, hey, look at this person.
Right.
Unless it's like, you know, they're like already famous or something like that. You know,
Right.
like we're not traditionally, like, we're always trying to like be better and not trying to, anyway.
Right. No, it's, I mean, social media is all about self-promotion.
Yeah.
Right. You know, even when you sound humble, it's usually humble brag.
Right.
You know, it's like, yeah, you try to slip in there. But,
Yeah.
You know, it's like a humble brag. And,
Yeah.
Hashtag blessed.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But when it comes down to it, it's self-promotion.
Yeah, exactly.
How many people lift up others without any agenda.
Yeah.
And without needing any credit.
Right.
That's really big, especially now. I feel like the more social media saturated we are, it feels like I have to catch up, man. I gotta open up an Instagram account, a Snapchat account, like I gotta get things rolling because nobody knows I'm alive out there, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, I'm getting buried, you know? Like, and everybody's like talking about themselves, and I better catch up. And it's like this, like rat race with social media. Yeah, but using something like social media to lift up others,
Right.
that's pretty incredible when people do that. Yeah, without getting any credit. And even like, for example, when you imagine you are lifting somebody up, but it's to associate yourself with.
Right, exactly.
So you take a selfie with Tim Keller.
Right.
Let's see Kobe. It's not just like, ooh, like let's look up Tim Keller. It's like, I know Tim Keller. That makes me important, you know what I mean?
Right.
self-love,
Right.
so even that, right? Yeah, so actually lifting others up, not taking credit. Battling against self-promotion,
Right.
just like need for recognition, all that. For sure. That speaks volumes.
I think a life of joy also speaks
Mm.
volumes. Because it's not a momentary pleasure.
Mm.
It's something you can shake, it's much deeper.
Right.
And I think that sticks out. It's just, you don't have everything going for you. You don't have
Right.
this and this and this and this, the definition of success.
Right.
Yet, are you so happy? You know, like, and it looks like happy from the outside,
Right.
but really it's like, it's a slow burn. You know, it's joy.
Right.
It doesn't go, you don't shake it whether you're depending
Yeah.
on how you're feeling. I think that really catches people.
Yeah. Very countercultural. That's why I feel like miserable Christians are such bad wick.
I
You know? It's like, can you be miserable by yourself? Don't tell everybody that you're miserable. You're a Christian. But it's like, yeah, you feel like if anybody has reason to be joyful, regardless of circumstances, it should be Christians, right? Like we're secure, even if we die, like there's still joy, you know? I feel like, you know? And even when you go through circumstances, it's like for your good, it's to refine you, brings you closer to God, makes you more grateful. Like just, it's like win-win for everything. But yeah, joy-filled Christianity is so rare to find. Even people like, what's her name? Heidi Baker. That's why she's so offensive to many Christians. You know? It's because they're like, you're a missionary, you're supposed to look miserable, you're supposed to, you know, be getting little sleep and like, you know, nothing, and you're supposed to look like you're barely making it alive. And why are you so happy, you know? So I feel like that's one of the more offensive things about her to most Christians. It's like missionaries are supposed to look a certain way. You look too happy to be missionaries, so you must not really love Jesus or something, you know? But yes, that goes against temporary pleasure.
I think, yeah, like what question that I have when it comes to joy as well is like, you know, drawing the line between joy and happiness as well.
Right.
You know, like just because I'm not happy doesn't mean I don't have joy.
Right.
Right.
It's not circumstantial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how you would make that distinction, right? Joy's more like inward out, and then happiness is more outward in. Yeah.
Or on the
That's
surface.
what I think of it.
Yeah.
Or on the surface, just like.
Another thing I think about is forgiveness. And like
Mm.
this culture where people are only trying to elevate themselves
Right.
and like, you know, hurt other people in the process. And if they wrong you, like living a lifestyle of forgiving people who have hurt you, it's totally countercultural.
Right. It's like, it shouldn't make sense to people, really. That's why you see sometimes like, you know, has this popped up in your newsfeeds before? Like, mother of a murdered teenager like, forgives the teenager's murderer or something like
Or
that.
the Coptic Christians who
Coptic Christian. Yeah. It's like, people are like, what? Even like atheists, they're like, what is this? Like, they are like different beasts altogether. Like, they have no category for something like that.
Right.
People who are willing to forgive their family member's murderer. You know? It shouldn't make sense. That kind of Christianity, that kind of forgiveness, it should make sense to the world, and that's the whole point of it. Yeah. For sure.
I think something that is called kind of countercultural is to be present. And like,
that's good.
I've been with like mentors who would turn off their phone or put their phone like at a different table, and it's like, oh, you actually care. And I think especially with like, even like, I think across the world, like this generation, the millennial generation is a fatherless generation. And when even a friend will take something that's so, you know, our phones is our lives, and put it aside,
So your
and be
identity is
like, you're my life. For the next 40 minutes, you're my focus. It says a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. For sure. We're like so quickly torn away from the moment as well, and from people, and as connected as we are, it's very it's surface level as well. Yeah, that's huge. I feel like, who said this recently? Like, I feel like fasting for our generation is not, it shouldn't just be food, but media. Like, that's like so hard now. Because it invades you from everywhere, right? And like, you click on one video and it rolls on to the next. Like, oh, you know, it's rolling, you know? Before you know it, it's 3 a.m. You're like, what? You know what I mean? It's like, it's engineered that way though. And so for our generation to actually be able to unplug and disconnect, that's huge. Our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. And, yeah. Can you imagine our kids' generation? Ooh. Won't be able to hold conversation. Maybe one more. Okay, 2 more. We solved that.
Hunger for the truth.
Hunger for truth.
They realize like what they see in social media is just facade. Like what beautiful picture they see on the blogger, it's very actually sponsored.
Right.
It's not because they really like it, you know.
Right.
And I think as they encounter those events, they are disillusioned, they are jaded. And even the news on Facebook, like you don't know if it's true, right? And at the end of it, they will wanna know the truth, like what is authentic, what is real. I think that's probably why those hashtags are so popular, like authenticity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
really?
there's like movement that you wanna be authentic, but that's also like very curated by the bloggers too. But I think just that hunger for what is real, you know, behind the facade.
Yeah. It makes you more hungry for the real stuff, right? Yeah, because there's a lot out there that you feel like it is like orchestrated and very carefully calculated, right? Yeah.
Having peace and not anxiety.
Oh, that one. It is huge, especially nowadays. You know, it's almost like if you're not really anxious about something in your life, you feel like you don't have a real job or something. You know what I mean? If something's wrong, like you should be anxious about something, you know, and to allow the peace that transcends all understanding to transcend all understanding, basically. That shouldn't make sense to the world. Like you have every reason to be anxious. You have every reason to allow things to affect you, and yet you choose peace and you choose God. That's huge. Yeah. And it's more and more rare, I would say. Yeah. It goes, I think, with identity, hand in hand with identity.
And faith. There's not a lot of space for faith out there. There's so much education and information. So someone who lives by faith is in contrast.
Yeah. And it's even like something that we need to be careful about in the church as well. Like when we have church down to a science, you know, and we're like, we know exactly how to bring people in, we know exactly how to set up the chairs and what kind of music to play and like how we should title our messages to draw in more viewers, you know, things like that. When it becomes so calculated and you don't leave any room for the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit's like, all right, I guess they don't need me. We'll go somewhere else, you know? But definitely, even the more you learn, like you should make more room for faith. You should make more room for the supernatural, for God to actually do stuff. Yeah. So that's something that like, we can all learn from, for sure. Okay. One more thing before we close at the night. Oh. No, we're gonna close at the night. Let me just give you maybe something to take home. Is like, with all the things that we talked about tonight, oh my gosh, with all the things we talked about tonight, what does it look like to live a Forerunner lifestyle where you are right now? Like your present circumstances. 2017 Tammy, working at this school, and these are what your hours look like, and this is what your circle of friends looks like. Forerunner. This is what your family looks like. Like in your situation right now, what does it look like to be a Forerunner? To live, not according to the spirit of the age, but according to a different kingdom. And how can you make your life prophesy and preach about something who's to come? So that'll be hopefully something that you can take home and meditate on. Maybe it's not something that you can pin down like in just 30 minutes, but hopefully this will get your wheels turning. I think part of thinking about the Forerunner spirit, like you're gonna have to come to terms with being different. I think for me it took a long time. It's like, no, I want to fit in. I want to belong. But like being okay with like, okay, I'm very different. I'm not, maybe I'm not going to look like worldly success. Maybe not going to look like worldly popular or cooler or whatever categories are out there. Am I okay with that? Can I live with that? Can I live with that and live happy and that I'm not missing out on anything? Yeah, without FOMO. You have to battle FOMO real hard, especially nowadays with social media. Yeah, so hopefully this is something that just gets your wheels turning and you begin to think, even in your current circumstances, how it is that you ought to live in a way that is preaching of a different kingdom to come. Again, okay, the time is over, but if it was here, your life is pointing towards a different kingdom.
Right.
It's pointing towards somebody else. And what does that look like today for you, in your job, in your circumstance? Yeah? All right, so we'll close for the night. Oh my gosh. Let me pray for us. Father, we thank you so much for tonight. We thank you that all these things, as much as we discuss it, as much as we think about these things, none of these things are possible without the intervention of your Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. We don't have in ourselves the kind of willpower and the kind of mental strength or moral fortitude, Lord God, to do everything that needs to fall into place for us to live the kind of lifestyle that you've called us to lead. We thank you, God, that we need nothing short of your Holy Spirit alive and actively at work in our lives for us to be able to do these things. And we thank you, God, that this is something that you want to see in our lives. You want to see us living that kind of life. You want to see us bearing that kind of witness, Lord God, to other people, that we are living for somebody else. We're living for something else. And I pray, God, that this would really speak louder, even that what words could speak out. The way that we make our financial decisions, the way that we spend our time, the way that we invest in certain things, the way that we relate to one another, all these things, Lord God, how can they preach of a kingdom that is to come? I pray, God, that this would be something that we take into our prayer closets, something that we begin to walk out in our daily life. And I pray, God, that this would, even starting tomorrow, infuse the work that you called us to do with a different kind of meaning, a different kind of weight. Even as we walk into our workplaces tomorrow, Lord, may we do it with the knowledge that we are heralds of someone. We're messengers for someone. And we have a message to preach through the way that we live our lives. We thank you, God, that you really are preparing the way for your return, and you're doing so through your people. I thank you, God, that you are building up anticipation. You're building up hope in us. You're building up resilience and understanding, all these different things, Lord God, that we need in the end times. And we thank you, God, that you're doing these things out of your mercy, out of your grace, that you would not keep us in the dark, but you would prepare us for the things that are to come.
Yes.
We thank you, God, for all these things. We trust in your word, and we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.